I do want to take you out to some breaking news that we are following at this hour, as a federal appeals court has now upheld a $5 million verdict that E. Jean Carroll won against Donald Trump when a jury found the U.S. president-elect liable for sexually abusing and later defaming the former magazine columnist. The decision was issued by a 3-judge panel of the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan, and all of this information here is coming in from Reuters. Now, the May 2023 verdict stemmed from an incident around 1996 in a Bergdorf Goodman department store. It was in a dressing room there in Manhattan where Carroll said Trump raped her. And an October 2022 Truth Social post where Trump denied Carroll's claim as a hoax. Though jurors in federal court in Manhattan did not find that Trump committed rape, they awarded the former Elle magazine advice columnist $2.02 million for sexual assault and $2.98 million for defamation.
Think about this for a second before we get to the actual appeal being denied over in New York, because there was an expectation for it to be denied over in New York anyway, because New York is a liberal state. And New York is also corrupt, especially with Letitia James at the helm, which is one of the reasons that I don't necessarily care for Letitia James. And I don't think that anybody should do anything, even remotely, that would be considered to be a crime in New York, because you don't want to face Letitia James, one of the most evil people that I've seen thus far on a screen doing any press conference at any point. All right. But imagine this before we get to the appeal. Imagine that is your word against hers from something that happened nearly 30 years ago? Or she's claiming to have happened 30 years ago. And so she makes a civil claim while at the same time writing a book at the time where it was popular to go against Trump. And she makes a civil claim that says that Trump did something to her and that he did something unseemly to her. And the jury says, no, we can't substantiate that. That's not necessarily true. But maybe he assaulted you, right? And so we're going to award you over $4 million from this. And then in addition to this, because I've been following the case for a while now, we have been covering it on the Millionaire Morning Show. In addition to that, we're going to have over $80 million in punitive damages for defamation. Now, I know this because I've studied it, and more importantly, I've spoken to my lawyers about it with other things that I've been observing and things like that in the past. And what I know about defamation, and I could be a little bit off here, so give me a little bit of rope here. What I know about defamation is you have to prove that overwhelmingly, without a shadow of a doubt, you lost revenue and resources to the tune of whatever it is that you're being awarded. And obviously, when you start to go into punitive damages, is left up to whoever the decision makers are that do it. But in a general sense, you have to prove that you were, or the person that you're accusing was negligent in preventing you from being able to earn a substantial amount of money to the tune of $80+ million. And that's what they awarded her. Well, obviously, that's not a thing. And so it went from sexual assault to defamation. First, it went from, grape over to the essay, and then it went over to defamation. And now she's being awarded almost $90 million or $85 million plus. That's absolutely insane. I think that this obviously is going to be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court. And even if they hold up whatever the judgment is, I believe that they'll obviously change the damages to reflect something that's more reasonable. From an old woman that comes up almost 30 years later and accuse you of something, 25 years later, and accuse you of something inside of a department store. So inside of the department store, nobody heard nothing. And who's to say that it's true? What's the evidence that came along with it? And they tried to use New York in these cases to prevent him from being able to truly make a run at president of the United States of America, and it didn't work. But we'll get there.
A different jury ordered Trump in January to pay Carroll $83.3 million for defaming her and damaging her reputation in June 2019 when he first denied her rape claim. In both denials, Trump said he did not know Carroll. She was, quote, not my type, and that she fabricated the rape claim to promote her memoir. He's appealing the $83.3 million verdict as well. Carroll's cases are
As he
continuing
should.
despite Trump's having won a second four-year White House term. That, of course, happening back on November 5th, and he is expected to take office January 20th. In 1997, in a case involving former President Bill Clinton, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled unanimously that sitting presidents have no immunity from civil litigation in federal court
So
over
money.
actions that predate and are unrelated to their official duties as president. Trump's lawyers did argue the $5 million verdict should be thrown out because the trial judge should not have let jurors hear testimony from two other women who accused Trump of sexual misconduct. One, businesswoman Jessica
Me too.
Reed, said Trump groped her on a plane in the late 1970s. The other, former People magazine writer Natasha Steinoff, said that Trump forcibly kissed her at his Mar-a-Lago estate in 2005.
This is insane. In the 70s? In the 70s. And then one said that, oh, he forcibly kissed me in 2005. Listen, if the president of the United States of America ain't safe, you sure ain't safe. You better gird up.
Trump's lawyers also said the trial judge should not have let jurors watch a 2005 Access Hollywood video where Trump boasted graphically about forcing himself on women. Both trials were overseen by U.S. District Judge Lewis Kaplan. Again, this just coming in from Reuters right now as we are learning that a federal appeals court has now upheld a $5 million verdict that E. Jean Carroll won against Trump when a jury found the U.S. president-elect liable for sexually abusing and later defaming the former magazine columnist.
Y'all better be careful out here in these streets. I do think that when they appeal this up to the Supreme Court, that this will either be overturned or it will be significantly reduced. Let's hope overturned. And the reason that I say that is because it sets a bad precedent. It sets a bad precedent for women in the future to feel incentivized for powerful men that they can just come out of nowhere and make an accusation, and we're supposed to reward them accordingly. I don't agree with it. I'm not rocking with it. I think that it was a sham job. Also, it happened in New York, and we know what happens in New York. Don't stay in New York. It becomes politicized so that they can try to leverage it in order to try to get Trump, jammed up. That didn't work. He still won president of the United States of America. I'm pretty sure that they're going to be talking about it on The View. They haven't been talking about anything recently that you guys have been sending me on The View. So they'll need something to talk about as usual. And so we can expect to see that as a part of the show probably within the next couple of days. But yeah, man, I'm not for it. I'm not with it. I hope that he appeals it successfully. And you shouldn't, again, I don't care if you're the president of the United States of America or the Duke lacrosse team or you Jay-Z or anybody for that matter, or the NYPD police chief. I don't by default believe any woman, let alone these women that are incentivized to do so from a financial perspective because they know that they're going to come up. Let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Also, Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.